Well, partner, and again, this is going to be a good one. We've been waiting for this one for a while, and I'm looking so forward to talking to our guests and listening to the story, the partnership between Virginia State University and Chesterfield County. You've been trying to set this up for a moment.
Yeah, but when between your schedule, my schedule, and their schedule, it's really hard to align. But everyone was on board, and today we're making it happen.
And I think our audience is going to really appreciate what we're going to bring to the table today. I think we're going to have a round table discussion of a relationship that in a partnership with a university, one of the major universities in our state, to do some things and talk about some things that's been going on, been on our chest. But I'm looking for that real talk.
I agree. I think this falls in line with what the university president and the university in general says. Greater things happen here.
Right, and our current.
But I think this is consistent with that.
Yes. So let's get right back. Let's get into it, baby. Here we go.
So today we have two professors from the Virginia State University, and I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves.
Yes.
I would defer to my queen first.
There you go.
Okay, I am Dr. Trovona Davis, assistant professor and criminal justice major, and the new internship coordinator.
Yay. She's more than that, though.
Yes.
That's just a brief introduction. I just want y'all to know. And I am Dr. Zoe Spencer. I am a professor of sociology and the founder of the center, the VSU Center for Policing Leadership and Social Justice at the Virginia State University.
We've been going back and forth with this university thing. And you know, when you talk about HBCUs, there are a lot of them that are out there, but there's one or two that people really look forward to hearing. That's going to be the Virginia State University. And I'm going to give Howard University some credit, but there is the Hampton University that we talk about all the time.
Dr. Spencer
This is the bridging the gap.
Right, the bridging the gap. And this Dr. Spencer is a graduate of Howard University, and Dr. Davis is a graduate of Virginia State University.
Correct.
One of the things that Dr. Spencer left off of her bio was that she's also an award-winning spoken word artist.
Yes.
That should not go unrecognized. That's a lot of work to put in the time and effort to reach that level.
Yes.
So let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
In your respective positions, what do you do? We know what a professor is, but we also know that there's a lot more that goes behind the scenes that we don't know.
Mentoring the students that we have, that's really huge as being a professor. So mentoring, helping out in the community, establishing relationships with different agencies, different organizations in order to help make sure that our students are successful in the long run. Dr. Z is...
I was going to catch it. Yeah.
Helping to create future professors, right? Mm-hmm. So what a lot of people don't know is Dr. Z was one of my professors when I went to Virginia State University. And so looking at the professors, I need to be that model for we can do what we want to do, right?
Right.
And so thank you. It's amazing being here with you all, and especially being here next to Dr. Z, having her as my previous professor and working alongside her. So creating that same relationship with my students as well, to mentor them to be whatever it is that they, want to be.
Awesome.
That's great. Dr. Spencer?
Dr. Davis is my reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm older now, and I'm, getting ready to go on the other side of the mountain. And, just to, she talks about her honor, but what an honor it is, for me to be able to see our students to do the work and then come back and give back in such a powerful way, because Dr. Davis came on board and she hit the ground and she didn't even start running. She just sprinted.
Wow.
And so, like she said, the work, VSU is an HBCU. And so for me, I'm a Black woman. And so a large part of the work is being able to give back to the communities that I come from. You mentioned I'm from Howard, HBCU. I made a conscious decision to come and teach at HBCUs, and she's an exemplary reason why. So she answered the question, and she's a manifestation of that. And so when I leave, I know that Virginia State or whatever other university, I hope we keep her here. President Abdullah, I hope we keep her here. But wherever she goes, she's gonna leave that mark, and then she'll teach the next generation who will come back and do the work. So
right. So that's good to see the legacy of what you're giving to the younger students, come back and give back to the university.
Right.
So when we talk about, I want to get into talking about our relationship from past to present. And that's something that we try to partnership in saying what that stereotype was back when I first became a police officer in 88, 87, and listening to the people talk about in Chesterfield community, talk about Virginia State University, what the police department was doing. So I'd like to get into that part of what you see yesterday to where we are today. And I know the relationship you all have with this bridge program that we talked about a few years ago. But I want to go from when you first got to VSU from Howard University, one of those little schools out there, and talk about where we are today.
yeah, so this wasn't my first stop after Howard. I went to Cheyney University, which is the first HBCU in the nation, 1837. Was there for a couple of years and then came down south to Virginia. I'm originally from D.C., Berry Farms Projects, and so Virginia was very new for me. I came out of Howard, so I had a very critical lens, and I'm, watching some of the things that are going on around me as far as my students are concerned. And, I'm sure as Dr. Davis will affirm, making sure that our students are safe. For me, it was a priority. Like, I look at my students as extensions of my family.
Sure.
And I saw some things I didn't like. I was in Chesterfield before I moved. I lived in Chesterfield before I moved to Petersburg. And I remember the first day I saw Chesterfield pull somebody over, a young black boy over in my neighborhood, and I was livid. It was on the heel of, I think it was probably Mike Brown. And my first contact was with Captain A.J. Stark.
Right.
Then I met with Frank Carpenter, and then I met with the chief of police then, who was Dupree, and the lieutenant, is it the lieutenant chief?
Lieutenant
Colonel, yeah. And we started, we had this deep discussion, and the chief was all in for, what can we do to make sure that there are no tragedies and protests in Chesterfield, and that was, that was my thing. And so in 2015, we did a bridge program, and Chris was a part of that cohort, and it was really, really super dope. I mean, I don't know how y'all felt about it, but I thought it was really, really,
It was.
really great. And, that relationship built, and then it stalled for a moment. And then after George Floyd, I picked back up again at the request of President Abdullah, and started the Center for Policing Leadership and Social Justice, where it's not just Chesterfield, but it's regional. It started out to be local, then it's expanded to be regional. Now we're dealing with federal law enforcement as well to do the work of bridging the gap.
Okay.
And what I have seen from then until now, especially at our VSU, in our VSU community, and I think we have work to do to expand it to the larger community, but I feel safe because you all are the ones that police and patrol, in addition to our distinguished Virginia State University police. You all, run shotgun on every event. Right. And it is important, to me, for the parents of the students who we're stewards of, to make sure that we are creating an environment that is safe for both you guys and our students. Right. And I feel extremely comfortable and extremely appreciative. You all got an award from the center last year at our appreciation. So I'm excited about the way that I've seen the relationship grow, and I hope that it continues. And
so Dr. Z talked about a lot of the points, right? So she's been at Virginia State as a professor longer than me, right? So I'm just here since August. So collaboratively, the relationship that you all have with Virginia State University is phenomenal, right? When I came as a professor, it was trying to find networking opportunities But the previous, and I have to give my props to Professor Brown because she had already laid the groundwork, that foundation, right? So now mine is building upon that foundation to establish not just Virginia State community, but outside as well. So me and Dr. Z has been talking about some things that we probably will need to bring you all on because the community is important and the whole entire community and not just our students with Virginia State.
Right. Go ahead.
Well, I know you said you just came in August. However, with that just came in August, by October, you already had your students doing the Chesterfield Police Experience.
Yes.
Where you work with our community policing officers, our community engagement officers at Virginia State University, and you brought 3 nights. You brought students to our police academy to do traffic stops, to do shoot, don't shoot scenarios, to do shoplifting scenarios where they get that practical experience. And that's been a great relationship. It really changes the perspective of our officers who run the scenarios as well as the students who actually perform them in real time.
So what feedback are you getting from those students? That's what
The students love it, right? I actually came the first night as well to witness them in that moment, and it gave them a different perspective of law enforcement because you got to think in our community, in the Black community, the talks that we had, we call it the talk, right? That our parents had with us in regards to what do you do when you're in the vicinity of a police officer, and not even just stop, but in the store and the police officer is behind you. What do you do? And so you all help to change the perspective, to change the narrative, and we need to do the same thing for the Virginia State community and the rest of Petersburg. And
you just gave me chills. Look at my.
I think that speaks well for that partnership.
That's the real talk there.
Yeah, that all grew out of Dr. Spencer's initial meeting with Colonel Dupree at the time, and here we are 8 years into this, and we're still being successful, both Chesterfield Police Department and as well as Virginia State University.
And I think, too, I just wanted to cut in because I think, too, it's not so much what people say, but I think it's more about what people don't say. You know what I'm saying? The fact that there are no complaints. You all have done every single basketball game, football game, every single event, concert that we have on campus, you all are collaborating with the security team and our police department to make sure that, our campus stays safe. And I've been there and I've witnessed, the ease and I've felt the energy. It's an easy energy. And so I think it's more, about what people don't say.
Right.
And trust and believe if they had a problem, they would come to me.
Right.
And now Dr. Davis and say, listen, Chesterfield, blah, blah, blah. And I don't hear it. So that's
and then see, Elliott has an opportunity to teach basic academy and with our lateral transfer and do some in-service training. What can we do better in communicating and getting the students to understand this is what we have to do as police officers, but we can also communicate on what we should be doing in the community?
Having those conversations with them, like we invite you all to our classrooms, but it's bigger than, the criminal justice classroom or sociology classrooms, right? All the majors. We need to have a conference or something, a round table discussion where the students, all students in Virginia State University can come and ask questions and have those uncomfortable conversations, right?
Yes.
Because I had Sergeant Kirsten and Corporal Wilson come to my classroom, and at first, I have mostly freshman students. So at first they were, okay, what can I say and what can I say? But once they realize that this is a safe space, and I can ask those uncomfortable questions, and I'm going to get a real answer, then it opened them up to come into the CPEP program and so forth. So having that not just for criminal justice and sociology majors, but having it for everyone.
Wow.
And I think, too, Doc, to piggyback off of what you said, the students being able to see Kirsten in your classroom and then come to a basketball game and see him there, like that matters, right?
It does.
And I think, and that's, what Dr. Davis and I are talking about too. It really is about visibility and about being able to be in spaces together where you can build relationships before a crisis. Because if people trust you, then you can probably intervene and prevent a crisis before there is a crisis, instead of, especially communities of color and law enforcement always being in a situation where you all have to react to something that you didn't start, and people are witnessing the reaction, and it's traumatic, right? And so if we can forge that relationship where we're able to be not friends, but have that respect.
Be respectful to each other.
Like oh, that's Officer Joey Kirsten.
Yep.
He was in Dr. Davis' class.
Yep.
Hey, Officer Kirsten. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like that part, and it impacts the way that people engage in your presence. So I think
I like that.
I've seen the result of that. I mean, Sergeant Kirsten or Wilson or some of the previous, like Sergeant Rosser, Bill Rosser, put the work in. Sergeant Harris. Either as community engagement or as supervisors, just going into the classroom and having those real talk conversations and not being afraid to say what you say.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
It is reap
or
the
hear
rewards.
what you hear.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things for our officers as well as for students, sometimes they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
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 And the lack of education is no longer an acceptable reason for bad behavior. It never should
It
be.
never was.
But we
Never
do
was.
have these conversations and I say at my church, we have a conversation with the relationship between VSU and Chesterfield County Police. And there are a lot of graduates in our community or in our church that have attended VSU. And they ask, tell me about the relationship, because you still have that old school thought or that process of saying, man, they treated them bad. And I say, you got to ask for today. It's funny you say that because we're doing a podcast with some of the professors and the doctors of the school now. So I can take that back to my church when we have those conversations with the men and say, listen, this is perspective from you, but I'm going to give you truth from them.
Right.
And that means a lot because they're going to have kids and grandkids that are attending VSU, and they want to know that we do have a relationship. And when things do change in our police department, as far as the personnel that we have down there, we want them to know that these are the same people that you treat in mid-Chesterfield as you treat on the outskirts of Chesterfield, meaning because you see the different color, doesn't mean they need to be treated any different. And that's what we want to be also put in our churches.
Right. Now, I know you, Dr. Davis, run the internship program. We were discussing it before we started recording. About 2 or 3 years ago, we had about 8 or 9 interns that were all Virginia State University students. And I think we have 1 or 2 doing it this summer as well. How's the internship program working out for you? And is it what you expected? I know it's a lot of work. I did the internship program for us for a while as a recruiter, and it's a lot of work.
I'm not going to say that it is a lot of work because there's a goal, there's a mission, right? And the mission is to provide the students with the opportunities, whether it's policing, corrections, probation, whatever that is for them, providing them with the networking opportunities so that they can get into the community and meet people, criminal justice practitioners, and figure out what they want to do, right?
Okay.
So looking at what you said 8 years ago, or
Yes.
and now you have 1. So I am the internship coordinator now, right? And it is getting you all into the classroom and letting them know that this is an opportunity, right? And so right now I have freshmen mainly. So with now me taking over internship coordinator, I have juniors and seniors. And so for my juniors that are in pre-internship, I'm saying, hey, this is an opportunity, so you need to reach out because this is an opportunity for when you become a senior. So I am looking to get that 1 up to having multiple. And then you have to look at, somebody brought up perspective. And so a lot of the times people look at criminal justice majors and they think all it is policing. And a lot of students don't want to do it because of their perception and their perspective of policing.
Yes.
So getting you all into our classrooms to show them, and not just in the classrooms, we need something outside of the classroom so that they can see you as a human.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And not
Exactly.
just as a police officer. And so I'm looking to get that 1 up by.
Well, that 1 is consistent with other universities.
That's what I'm going to
So
say.
some years we have a lot from VCU. Some years we may have 1 from VCU. It goes up and down, but the fact is, I am glad we have the 1 as well as when we had the 8, because those people are looking and putting the work in to make themselves available.
And right now, you have to think this is the summer, so our students are from everywhere.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
So, but that fall, you're probably going to have
Yeah.
more
Have
in
a lot
that
more.
fall than in that
Right.
summer.
Go ahead, Doc. I'm
No,
sorry.
go ahead.
But I also understand that when we recruit now, we talk to other universities outside of the state of Virginia about our program, our intern program. And kids are coming from New York, from down south. So we do have to pick different so we can get all of them that experience. And we've been doing that a lot better than we did, I would say,
10 years ago. Yes.
So
And
it's not the students.
Yeah.
It's going to be the pool is a lot larger than it was then. So
And
And
then too, I think you also have to consider, a lot of the events that have happened over the last 10 years
Yes.
too.
Oh, no question.
And it really is about rebuilding the trust that people who might desire to be in law enforcement can come in and be respected and also contribute to creating the culture that is respectful and
Right.
respectful for all people. And so you got to look at that too. I
I
think
agree. I
y'all
agree.
took a hit
Yep.
for a minute, and
Yep.
that
Yes.
definitely impacts whether people choose to do their internships
Exactly.
or work.
And we did interview one of our PSAs a few weeks ago, and he talked about that from being from up north. He talked about that relationship of what his family felt about him getting into law enforcement. But then once he got in it and he showed his parents what they can do and what he can contribute to the community and to law enforcement, changes their perspective. So we also are teaching our kids, once you get in, show your mom and dad, show your homeboy, show your one of your boys back in the day, dude, you got me in there, you trust me, you know I'm gonna do the right thing. So trust them that I'm gonna give them the information for the right thing, and that's what we had to do.
And then y'all too, but then all of you guys also have to come out, like Dr. Davis said, like we need to play basketball and kickball together and not just have these meetings, right? Not just at Virginia State University, but in the community.
Yes.
So that people can also see you all outside of your element. Like
Yep.
I know, the beautiful thing, I never ever thought I would be sitting here in this space with you guys. Like that wasn't my intention when I called to it's not internal affairs. What is it?
Office of Professional
That
Standards.
part, the office. I didn't expect that. I thought I was going to be beefing with somebody.
Oh, wow.
I called to argue and get angry, and it turned into this,
Yes.
right? And so
Yes.
I have had the opportunity to change my perspective,
Yes.
not because I want to change my perspective, but because I've had the opportunity to get to know you
Wow.
guys as people,
Right.
as
Right.
Right.
brothers. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
it's and to laugh with you guys and to share stories and stuff. The people in the community have to be able to see you in that light, and you
Right.
all have to be able to see the people in the community in
Right.
that light as well. And so we got to do the work of getting out into the communities to show them who you are.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm excited.
Where do we go from here? I know we talked about having some real conversations, getting out in the community. Can you think of anything else we could be doing better collaboratively or?
I think getting out in the community is the most important thing. That's the first step. Why? Because people need to see humility
Right.
from
Right.
police officers,
Yeah.
right? And so a lot of times with those perspectives, and you got to think your perspectives come from both sides. It's your lived experiences and not always just how your lived experiences, but the lived experiences of other people, right? And that shapes our perspective of police officers, but that also shapes police officers' perspectives of our community.
Right.
And so having that community engagement where you all are interacting with the community, that's the first step because they need to see that.
I
They need
agree.
to
I
establish
agree.
that trust, to build that relationship, to build that partnership,
Yep.
and move forward.
And I give you that example, and it's on a smaller scale, is my church. I mean, being a police officer in Chesterfield County, being a person of color in Chesterfield, being a police officer, there were people, my pastors, which was a husband and wife a few years ago before they left to go up to New Jersey, she had a distaste for police officers, but she never had a distaste for me. So she went to our Citizens Academy, and it changed everything because she said, Dara, they're not like you. The police officers in Chesterfield are not like you. They don't see the fun and having and hanging out with our kids at church and doing things in the ministry, going on Ride for Knowledge to the universities with the students. I do that but the other people don't see that. So she came to our Citizens Academy, and when she left there, I mean, her whole perspective
Right.
of law enforcement. How do y'all do it?
Right.
I see it totally different now. So again, I love the part we do that in our churches, in our small environments.
Right.
But do we do that to the larger mass? And we do need to do, in our end, we need to be better of that.
And, I think one of the things I don't think we've ever mentioned on the podcast is the 3 sayings that Colonel Katz
Right,
has.
we have. but not
throughout
to
the department all the time. You ladies probably ever heard this to be humble,
Yep.
number one, hungry, and smart. And they all intersect in what we do.
Yes.
But, they could have said smart, hungry, humble, but it's to be humble. You have to
Yeah,
humble
right.
yourself when you're dealing with people in the community.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
And that has to be first.
Right.
Because the humility is what allows you to be able to hear people and
That's
understand
exactly right.
that people's
Yes.
perspectives and
Yes.
perceptions
Yes.
are
Right.
real to them,
And
right?
we have it
Yes.
posted
Yeah.
everywhere on every monitor,
Okay,
but
Chief
you have to
Katz.
humble yourself, and,
Yeah.
and they intersect when we do our jobs, and you have to
And
realize
our-
everybody's not where you're at.
Our officers have changed. The type of people that are in law enforcement now, they are from a very diverse community. They don't see what the older gentlemen and women that were in law enforcement, 20 years ago. And that's a whole different life changing for us. Because
Right.
now we have kids that in diversity schools or multicultural schools and things of that sort. Didn't do that back in the day. So you're going to see these kids to be humble because they can see themselves and their kids hanging out with people of color or religion and things of that sort. So yeah, I think we're doing good.
So our last question
We do have a last question.
is: both of you have pretty high stress jobs, I would assume, and it's busy. Sounds like you're putting a lot of work in, even if you're not consistently busy now. At some point in your career, you have. How do you deal with your stress? What bring
Great question. Why he say that? Why did he ask that question?
Yeah, how do you deal with your stress? I mean, we deal in stressful jobs, and we
Yeah.
ask all of our officers, how do you deal with stress? Because at some point, you've got to dial it back and look at yourself.
I'm praying.
Okay.
Right. That's my calm. That's my way to calm down and think about what's next. Right. Because busy, yes. Stressful, no. It's not stressful. Why? Because I've been there.
Right.
Right. A lot of the students that I have is from a similar, maybe not the same area, but from a similar neighborhood style.
Sure,
right.
sure.
Disadvantaged neighborhoods, and so I've been there, and so I can connect with them in that way, and they know that this is a safe space that they can, have these conversations. So stressful? No, unless they want to ask me how many times they can submit their assignment. Okay, it's submitted late. But praying, that's
Okay.
my thing.
Good.
Yeah. I'm with Dr. Davis. My job is not stressful at all. I love my job. I love my students. Every day I go on campus and all of the many hugs and I love yous I get to get and give is amazing to me. My activism, my other spaces can be stressful, but I listen. I'm not going to say it out loud because I don't want President Abdullah to take my money, but I would do that job for free. And that's real talk. So,
Wow. Wow.
and I have found that some of my stress relief is going to work.
Right.
And being with my students and being able to impart what I need to impart to them, and to hear them and to learn from my students and to be in that environment so my job is definitely not stressful, and it is by no means anywhere near as stressful as what you all have to experience that I have a greater deal of respect for now that I didn't then. But like Dr. Davis, my piece is just being obedient,
Right. Yes.
right? When you're obedient to your calling and your
Yes,
divine
yes.
purpose and, what your higher power will have you do, things that may be stressful aren't so stressful
Right.
Right.
because you know that what is needed is going to be provided for you on a level that people don't understand. And so I'm living a purpose. So
Yes.
I just have to be
Amen.
thankful. No
Amen.
complaints.
Amen.
Well, thank you all for coming.
Wow.
Thank you for
I'm
having
full.
us.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm full, brother.
I'm full. I mean, look at this, man. I'm telling you, this has been one of once we can go back and think about it and say, is there anything else that we could have said to make it any better? And I don't think we could.
Well, after we put the work in over this next academic year, we do a follow-up podcast next year,
That'd
summer.
be good. Yeah.
We can report back.
Yes, indeed.
Well, partner, that's it, man. I know we've been up here. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you all very
Thank
much.
you for having
Thank
us.
you.
We
Bless
appreciate your time during your summer
Yes.
break or summer slowdown, hopefully, somewhat.
Yeah. Well, partner, I mean, you want to go over what we're doing next?
Yeah, we want to thank all of our listeners for listening in again today. If you're interested in employment with Chesterfield Police Department, you can go to joinccpd.org. That's joinccpd.org and check us out. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, partner. Good
Thank
job,
you,
ladies.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.